She is not testing your love. She is testing your ability to survive hers. That distinction is everything. And most men spend years failing a test they never even knew they were taking. She watched you carefully. She noticed what you did when she needed something she couldn't ask for out loud. She paid attention to whether you stayed calm when she went quiet, or whether you made her silence about you. She registered every moment you chose comfort over truth, or truth over her feelings without considering the cost. She never told you any of this. She didn't need to. Because a mature woman who has lived through enough disappointment does not test with words. She tests with situations, with silence, with small moments that carry enormous weight. And the test she runs before she ever fully trusts you is one that most men walk right through, completely unaware they just failed it. Most men believe trust is built through grand gestures, through consistency shown in the obvious ways, showing up on time, keeping promises, being there during the big moments. And while none of those things are wrong, they are not what earns the deepest trust of a mature woman. Not the woman who has already been through enough to know exactly what she is looking for. A younger woman may be dazzled by effort and presence. A woman who has moved through her 30s and 40s, who has loved people who disappointed her, who has rebuilt herself quietly after relationships that looked perfectly fine from the outside. She is not looking for performance. She has already seen enough performances. She knows what a man looks like when he is trying versus when he is simply being. And that difference, as subtle as it sounds, is where her trust either begins to form or quietly dies before you ever knew it was on the line. The reframe here is not about understanding who she is on the surface. It is about recognizing what she actually needs at the deepest level, beneath the composed exterior, beneath the woman who seems to have it all together, beneath the patience and the warmth she extends so naturally. Because that composure is earned. That calm grace she carries took years of loss, of learning, of quietly reassembling herself after things that broke her in ways she never fully described to anyone. What lives underneath that composure is a need so specific, so particular, that most men walk past it entirely, already certain they have covered it. But this is where it gets darker. The deep emotional need a mature woman tests before fully trusting you is not loyalty. It is not consistency. It is not even love, though all of those things matter. The need at the very center of her testing is this. She needs to know that you can hold space for her without making her responsible for your emotional state. That is the test. And it runs quietly through everything. When she goes quiet after a difficult conversation, she is not giving you the silent treatment. She is watching whether you give her room to process, or whether your discomfort with her silence turns into pressure that pulls her back before she is ready. Every man who has rushed to fill that silence with reassurance seeking, with "what's wrong?" and "are we okay?" before she has had 10 minutes alone, thinks he is being attentive. What he is actually doing is proving he cannot regulate himself when she withdraws. And for a woman who has spent enough of her life managing someone else's emotions on top of her own, that moment registers deeply. It registers as familiar, and not in a way that feels safe. This is the pattern most men never see. They think she needs more communication. What she actually needs is proof that you can stay emotionally stable when she is not performing warmth for you, when she is not being easy, when she is not making you feel good about yourself in the way that keeps you comfortable. What she needs to see is who you are in the absence of her reassurance, because that is the version of you she will live with long term. And she already knows it. The psychology underneath this is straightforward but rarely discussed. Mature women who have moved through significant relationship experiences carry what can be understood as an emotional regulation wound. They have often spent years with partners who, consciously or not, outsourced their emotional stability to her. Her mood managed the household. Her warmth set the temperature of the entire relationship. Her approval determined whether the dynamic felt calm or quietly dangerous. By the time she reaches her late 30s or 40s, she has developed an almost unconscious sensitivity to that pattern. She can feel it early. She can feel it before you can name it. And when she does, something in her begins to quietly step back, not dramatically, not with explanation, just slowly, carefully, almost invisibly. And this is the part most people completely miss. She does not do this out of cruelty. She does not do this out of emotional unavailability. She does it out of survival intelligence, the kind that only comes from having loved the wrong person long enough to understand exactly what that costs. It cost her years. It cost her softness. It cost her the version of herself that once trusted love without running silent calculations on it first. And she has no interest in paying that price again. So when she tests, and she will test, she is not looking to catch you failing. She is looking for evidence that she is genuinely safe to be fully present with you. She is looking for a man who does not require her to be his emotional anchor in order for the relationship to feel stable. There is a second layer to this that goes even deeper. A mature woman does not just test whether you can hold your own emotions. She tests whether you can hold hers without rushing to fix them, without solving her, without quietly turning her feelings into a problem that requires your intervention to resolve. When she tells you something difficult and you immediately move to advise, to reframe, to offer perspective, your intentions are good. But what she hears in that moment is that her emotional experience makes you uncomfortable, and you would prefer it to stop. She hears, beneath the helpfulness, a subtle request for her to feel something more manageable. And for a woman whose inner world is rich and complex and hard-won through genuine living, that kind of emotional impatience, even dressed up as care, reads as the exact same dynamic she spent years learning to leave. What she needs to feel instead is that you can sit with her inside it, that her sadness does not frighten you into action, that her frustration does not make you defensive, that her complexity does not quietly ask too much of you, that she can fall apart slightly, briefly, honestly, and you will not turn that moment into a demonstration of your ability to handle her. Women over 40 understand something that took decades to learn. They understand that emotional safety and emotional comfort are not the same thing. A man can make her feel comfortable, can say the right things, ask the right questions, show up with reliable consistency, and still not be someone she can fully trust. Because comfort can be performed. Safety cannot. Safety is felt in the moments when she is the most authentically herself, and you do not flinch. It is felt in the quiet spaces between conversations. It is felt in the moments when she needs nothing from you, except to not be abandoned inside her own experience. Here is the question worth sitting with honestly. When she last went quiet, when she pulled back slightly and you felt that familiar distance open between you, what did you do with your own discomfort first? Not what did you say to her? Not how did you handle the situation? What did you do with the feeling inside yourself before you did anything at all? Because most men, in that moment, move immediately outward. They go toward her or they go away from her, but they almost never go inward first. And that direction, inward, is exactly what she is waiting to see. Because the man who can manage his own emotional response in the presence of her distance is the man she has been quietly trying to find. This next part is the one that changes everything. The deepest emotional need she tests, the one underneath everything explored in this video, is not about stability or patience or even presence. It is about being truly witnessed without an agenda attached to the witnessing. And that distinction changes everything when you finally understand it. Most men approach a woman they care about with something quietly living underneath the care, something they may not even be fully conscious of. The need to be enough for her. The need to resolve her concerns before they grow. The need to be seen as the right person for her. The need to prove, beneath every kind gesture, that this time will be different. And she can feel every single one of those needs. Not because she is unkind or suspicious by nature, but because she has lived long enough and loved deeply enough to recognize the weight of someone else's emotional requirement sitting inside a relationship alongside her own. What she is testing, in her quietest and most private moments, is whether you can be with her without needing her to complete something inside of you. Whether you can love her without that love carrying a hidden condition. Whether your presence with her is freely given, or whether it comes with an invisible request. The request being that she respond to you in the way you need in order to feel okay about yourself and about what is building between you. And here is what nobody talks about. When she finally encounters someone who moves through that test naturally, Not by performing emotional stability, but by genuinely possessing it. Something in her that has been carefully protected for years begins to open. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but in the way that something deep and real and slow-built always opens. Quietly, completely, and for keeps. That kind of trust, once given by a woman who has survived enough to guard it well, is one of the most rare and irreplaceable things that exists in a relationship. Trust, for a mature woman, is not given. It is not earned through time alone, or through the right words at the right moments, or through the grand displays of commitment that feel significant from the outside. It is built in the space between moments, in the quiet, in the tension, in the small situations she never announced as tests, but watched you navigate with everything life has taught her about people. The woman who has loved and lost and quietly rebuilt herself does not offer her full trust lightly. Not because she is damaged, but because she is wise. Understanding what she needs beneath the surface, not just what she says, but what her silence is searching for, is the beginning of something most men never reach. Most stop at the surface level and wonder why she never fully arrived. But what happens inside her when she finally does trust someone completely? When those walls that took years to build quietly come down one layer at a time, that is a depth of love so particular and so rare that most people never experience it even once in a lifetime. And there is something else that happens just before that moment. Something in her behavior, her energy, and the way her eyes land on you differently, that tells you, without a single word, that she has decided. That story begins somewhere else. Have you ever felt someone slowly pull their trust away from you? Felt the distance grow without being able to name exactly what shifted? And known, somewhere inside, that you had missed something you couldn't go back and catch? Tell me what that felt like in the comments.